venture well, which invests in these ventures. We're putting in small amounts of money. We're taking a little bit of equity for advising and equity in return for the seed investment, which is actually grant money that's going into the company. So it's a mission-related fit, which is very important from the tax code point of view. But really the funding for it is going to come from angels. So part of what we are trying to do is actually build that continuous pathway that we talked about. And I think there's a huge need for that, for supporting entrepreneurs, providing that kind of connection between the very early stage where investment is a very, very high risk, and essentially creating programs that de-risk and make investable the kinds of opportunities that people here get excited about.
Mark Dangert, I'm the founder of Entrepreneur Commons and Startup Cause. In the spirit of promoting leadership and a culture of collaboration and changing a little bit the way foundations have been functioning so far, would you be considering putting a pot of money that these programs that are out there will select among themselves who gets the money? So peer selection of these programs, so that you will get the sharing of best practices, and these programs can decide who among themselves has the most successful or potential chance of success. And then, the money goes there in the form of loans, so that it comes back to the next program, the next program. And I think if you want to get scale, that's a very good way to do things. If you want to change in the culture, that's also a very good. So I'm interested in your feedback in looking at these, as opposed to the existing model, which is more about you decide who gets what.
You're talking about sort of like the Unreasonable Institute kind of approach of who's going to get funding, it's going to be decided by the group of people who are the potential fundees, that kind of model. We haven't done that, although we are working with and providing a little bit of support to the Unreasonable Institute folks. It's a really interesting program. I encourage you to take a look at it. I think it's an interesting model. I think the challenge is how you make it scalable, I guess, and then accountability from the point of view of the funder. Deb mentioned the need for board approval of this, and how you make it, sort of look like something and have some results that show that this is really a credible way to do it. I think probably, we refer to what we call our burden of innovation, which is anything we take on, we have to think of it through kind of a lens of innovation, or being innovative enough. And I think this is the kind of thing we would be interested in doing, but we need to have some reference samples that show how it would work and the success with it. And so we're trying to stay close to a couple of things that are doing that.
Wouldn't you say, though, that the expert in the field are the guy in the trenches doing it? So in terms of who should decide it's fair to get them?
Well, that's how we decide our grants to entrepreneurs, or we use external panels for evaluating everything. And the board does not decide who's going to get the funding. They approve of it finally going through, but it's all essentially a peer group. If it's a university program, it's faculty doing the review. If it's an entrepreneur program, it's entrepreneurs and some entrepreneurial faculty doing it. But that's a little different than the peer model that you're talking about, which is, I think, an interesting, slightly more radical approach.
Well, and I would just add a couple of things. We're doing a few programs in Northeast Ohio. One small one, the money goes to a school system, and then the school system has a committee of teachers who have entrepreneurship education training. Teachers apply to this fund and ask for money for specific classroom projects, and so we do have the panel of experts making that decision. And then another thing that we are doing in Northeast Ohio is actually pooling philanthropic dollars. We've raised close to $100 million from about 100 different funders, and that money is all pooled and going mostly to entrepreneurship kinds of activities around the region, although also funding workforce development, talent development, and a number of other areas. So some of that happening.
I would think that would be technically a vehicle. A community foundation would be a really good vehicle to do that. You could get private foundations to funnel money into a community foundation, as well as get local business owners, and you could generate a regional buzz using a community foundation. You get the private foundations to sign on to the concept. The private foundations get their due diligence from the community foundation. It ties up all the loose ends. You get to invite a regional collaborative group to support the community foundation to get that done.
And we have a question here, in the back.
Hi, I'm Scott Becker. I'm an entrepreneur. One of my companies was actually acquired by Google last year. So I myself am 23, youngest founder ever of a company bought by Google. So my question is an entrepreneur, and now I'm a philanthropist as well. And yeah, I'm giving money. But it seemed curious to me that the biggest help to my company, while we did get grants early on, it started out with a $10,000 grant from Penn, but the biggest help to the company was actually mentorship. And I'm kind of curious what you guys are doing to get people who've done it, or people who are in the field out and helping these young early entrepreneurs.
So in our case, a big part of this is mentorship. So, for example, I mentioned we did a conference in December. 200 of the people there were from the nonprofit sector or workforce development sector. 200 were business people or unconnected people. So I think it behooves all of us to be receptacles for those people looking for mentorship opportunities to connect with us and us to find an activity for them. I think generally our sense has been that the more activity you support broadly, being sector agnostic, frankly being tax status agnostic, nonprofit or for-profit, as long as they're entrepreneurial, brings in more people who are looking for something to work on, and then from there you build up your mentor base. And that seems to be the thing, is just provide lots of opportunities and then let people pick amongst the opportunities what they want to mentor on. So.
I would agree with everything you said and add to that it's been said here already, it's actually a very challenging thing to put mentors together with people. So you need to have multiple processes, you need to have multiple opportunities for engaging with mentors, you need to have a stable structure that continually recruits and engages people, and it needs to be local. I mean, we're a national program. We have developed electronic mentoring resources. Be happy to talk with folks who are interested in working with us on that. Those are going to require lots and lots of people to get involved with them, and that has to be at a local level. In my personal opinion, it pretty much has to be something equivalent to a face-to-face interaction to kick things off in order to kind of make it stick and get people to connect with each other. And there's some great programs that do that. I know there's going to be some talk about some of that later in the week, or later in the day. But I think that it is a critical piece, and it is a piece that is an on-ramp for deeper engagement by individuals who have a lot to give. And I think it should be a focus.
And if I could add, there's a chasm that exists between the theory of engineering and the practice of engineering. And that's why our foundation doesn't support any publics. I graduated from the University of Michigan. Our founder graduated from the University of Illinois. We're both no alumni. Not one penny ever will we give back to our alma maters because they didn't prepare us in the way we thought, in making all the bonehead mistakes we did over the course of life that they could have and should have done in an engineering education. So the point is that when we ask CEOs, what do you want in a new engineer? The first two answers are they need to be effective cross-functional team players, and they have to tell their story in financial terms, or they have no credibility with their business partners. And I couldn't spell P&L when I graduated from the University of Michigan. I know my Ohio State fans here will say, what would you expect from anybody from Michigan? But I just asked that question a couple weeks ago of engineering students at another college, and they didn't know how to spell it or what it stood for. The thing is, we have to teach all of the key outcomes that we try to instill are experiential. You don't teach them in the classroom. You got to get students, as was mentioned this morning, into the workspace. They have to learn how to run a business before you kick them out of the nest and say, run a business, especially in high-tech industries.
Well, thank you. Our time is up, and I just wanted to make one comment in case some of you were discouraged by some of the responses. I want you to remember that as businesses, philanthropists set up foundations with very specific missions and visions. And so even though they've described the ones that they have had here, and they may not fit exactly with what you want to do, the challenge then is, if you want to continue in this space, is to find the philanthropist who is a good fit. These folks represent just what their founders are interested in and the space that they're willing to grow in. But for everyone here, there are many, many other philanthropists. So I just encourage you to keep that in mind, that just like the marketplace of ideas and entrepreneurship, we have the same thing in a marketplace of ideas among philanthropy. And I would like to just say thank you very much for those of us who are here.